Hello everybody, it's AO from AOKane again, and today we are continuing our 2D top-down Unity tutorial. So, last week we fixed up our fence hitboxes so they're smooth, we made it so our slime can't move through them, and we also added a bit of health to our player. Obviously they don't die or anything when we run out of health yet, but we'll get to that later. It makes testing a lot easier though if we can just kind of run around immortal for now. But in this week's video we are going to change around our health system because the way we did it was using delegates, and while delegates are good, they're not obviously the best solution for everything. So for right now we're going to switch over to a different system, which is just going to include the slime colliding with the player, similar to what we're doing now, but we're going to make a health script on our player itself rather than having it on the canvas, or I think we have it on health display up here, but just switching it around a little bit to be a lot more versatile. And then along with that, I want to go over a little bit more with the animator, because right now we kind of just have this idle animation that plays all the time, even when we're running or when the slime is moving around. And I think I actually kind of want to go over the animation part first, just because I don't think that'll be too hard. But yeah, so let's start with that. If I go over to art here and I go player, I believe the running animation for the player, that's the idle. So here to here should be our player running animation, and I can just drag that to our player sprite here, and we'll just throw that right onto assets, and I'm gonna say player side run, and we'll save that, and that should make a new animation for us if I did everything right, and it looks like I did, I think. So we're gonna open up our player animator. So now we have our player idle and our player side run. Or this is side idle and side run. So to flip around what's doing what, we're gonna make a bool, and we're gonna say is running, and from here we'll want to right click on side idle and drag to player side run. And if you click on that arrow, it'll bring up this, and we're going to say it does not have exit time, and we're going to add the condition is running is true. And from here, we're going to make a transition, and it does not have exit time, and then is running is false. So with this setup, we're going to use a script to change a bool on our animator to is running true, and it'll change to the running player side run. Otherwise, we're going to change back to player side idle. So, I mean, obviously right now, you'll see we're just getting that idle animation still. But if I go to run, or not run, if I go to our player movement, and we're going to add a new serialized field, a private animator, and I'm gonna just name it animator. And for this, we're gonna check in update if direction dot x is, let's say, what's it, f dot, there we go. So we're going to use this function, which is mathf.absolute value. And if you don't know, the absolute value of a number is just whether a number is -1 or 1. The absolute value is always going to return 1, because absolute value is just the distance from 0 rather than being the value of the number, if that makes sense. So here we're checking if the absolute value of the direction dot x, which is the horizontal axis, is greater than 0. And if it is greater than 0, we are going to say animator. Oh, I want this to be lowercase actually, just for a little bit of easier time telling them apart. Animator.set bool. No, set bool. And we are going to set our bool is, let's see, I don't remember if I had it capitalized or not. I think that is. So we're going to say is running. And we're going to set it to true. So if our absolute value is greater than 0, we're going to set is running to true. Else, we're going to set animator.set bool is running to false. So from here, I'm going to drag our animator down here just so we can watch it. And I'm going to click play, and I have to assign my animator. That's my bad. So I'm going to drag my player sprite animator to my animator here. And you'll see that we switch over to our running animation. And it looks pretty silly, but I like it. And you'll also notice that this animation is quite a bit faster from our idle. And that's just because in our... never mind, I forgot. I was thinking about my Squid Game, the, what was it called? Snack and Kraken, where I had to lower the speeds, but I guess we're sticking with 1 on these, and I like that quite a lot. So, you'll see that we got our running animation for our side all done. And it'll switch back to our idle and go run and all that jazz. And you'll see when we're going up and down, we're still in that idle animation. And that's just because we have to do our forward facing and backward facing sprites. And those are a little bit different, just due to you can't use the absolute value. And we could actually go over that now if you wanted to. Why not? So if I go art, and I don't think I'm going to use the forward idle or the backward idle. I think I'm just going to have it go back to the side idle rather than doing that, just because it's a little extra work. But if we want to do the forward run, I believe it's these. That looks right. And you'll do it the same way. You just drag it onto the player sprite. And I'm going to name this player front run. And it's always good to keep your naming scheme consistent and pretty clean. And we're going to say that we can transition from either of these. And we're going to make a new parameter over here. And it's going to be forward running, or forward run. So here, if forward run is true, we're going to go to front run. And if forward run is true, we're going to go to front run. And we can go back to you if is running is true and forward run is false. And we're going to get rid of exit time. We're also going to get rid of exit time on these and exit time on this. And we're going to transition back and we're going to add these two back, and this is running false, and forward run is false as well. So with this setup we have currently, from our player's side idle, it'll check if we're running to the side, we'll go here through this transition. And if we're going forward, we'll go here through this transition. Give me 1 second here. There we go. We'll go here through this transition. You just want to have it to forward run, and then same here, just worry about forward run. For here we have to worry about both. There we go. And with this setup, we'll just go into our animator, and we'll say if direction dot y is less than 0, because forward would be negative in a top-down game. We are going to set animator dot set bool forward run, and we're going to set that to true. Oh, there we go. Else you're going to set it to false. And I believe that should be all we need to get that running perfectly. So we got our forward run, and our forward run will always take priority. Oh, it looks like we got a little bit of silly bouncing action here. But our forward run will always take priority. Let me see what's getting checked here. So if is running is true, so that should be is forward run is true. No transition there, and you'll see that fixes it. Just had the wrong condition there, but you'll see if we're running diagonally, the forward will always take priority, and I just think that looks a little bit better. I do think we should also get our back run set up though, and that'll be the exact same thing as the forward run. And you'll just see our bool bouncing back and forth here, but yeah, so we'll do our backward run now, and I want our player side idle there, a player side run here, and our forward run here, and then I'll have the back run right there. I'm gonna quick save, and I'll look for that back run, which is going to be the sprites, I think. Yeah, that looks right. And we just drag it onto player sprite, and I'm going to name it player back run, and save. And we can go back into our animator and go up here to our back run, and we're going to do basically the same thing we did for forward run. So we'll back run, and we're going to make a transition, and this is going to be back run true, transition again, back run false. Basically the same as we have in our forward run there. And then same thing here is if is running is true and back run is also true. And then we can do is running is true, but back run is false. And from here, we also need a transition between back run and forward run, because the player can switch like that as well. And so we're going to say if back run is false and forward run is true, or vice versa if back run is true and forward run is false. And from here, I think that should all be right. They all should not have exit time as well. What exit time does is it'll continue playing the animation and then slowly transition to the other animation, or let it finish a loop. And for this type of thing, we want it to be quick, snappy, and responsive, so we won't want it to play through the rest of the animation. We want it to just change right away. So we can go back into our script, and we can basically copy this, except for we want to change this to greater than, and then we also want to change this to back run. And I believe that should be all we need to do. So you'll see we've got running in all 4 directions now. And that's all I really wanted to cover with our player animations, just to get them going a little bit better here. We'll probably do some sort of attack animation pretty in the near future. But with that, you'll see that our player runs forward, backwards. We'll always go back to one of these forward or side or left or right idles, and that's really not too big of a deal. Purely because I don't know. It's just not that big of a deal. If you want to add in the forward idles, all you have to do is add another transition for your front or your back run, and you say if we're not running, go to the side idle, and that would probably be somewhere in between here, and you can manipulate it that way. But for the purposes of what I'm doing, I'm just going to keep to the side idle. Yes, we got our little slime guy trapped there. But that's the player animations done a bit nicer. So now we can move on to changing up our health. So I'm going to close out of our animator, and I am actually going to clean up these folders really quick. So I'm going to make a new folder inside of here, and I'm going to call it the animation folder. And I just want to move all of our animation related items into our animation folder. And with that done, we'll move on to the health stuff. So first off, I know it seems a little silly since we did this in the last video, but we're actually going to remove the damage GA, and we are also we'll keep it down here because it'll be nice for later, but for right now we're gonna change stuff around a good bit. So we are going to go to our player, and we are going to add a new component, and I am just going to call it health. Not health. Oh, yeah, not health UI. I want it to be a new script called health, and we're going to do it pretty similarly to the health UI. Just changing a couple of components around to make it so we can use it very generally for all of our characters. So I'll have a health bar for our player, and I'll also do a little hovering health bar for our slime friend here. So I'm going to open up health here, and we can basically copy everything we had inside of health UI. We will not be needing this, so I'm just going to comment it out for now. And I'm also going to yeah, I'm going to comment all of this out. And we can just copy this over to our new script. And we're going to copy this library as well, because remember that's what lets us use a slider, which is our health bar. And you'll see that gets rid of our red underline there. That makes it so angry. So here we're going to say private void update health. There we go. I'm actually going to make this a public void because other scripts will be interacting with this function. And this function is going to take in a float. And this will be amount. So inside of here, we're going to say current health plus equals amount. So if we want it to be positive, we add a positive number. If we want to take health away, we just add a negative number. And that makes this function very, very broad in use. And then we just have to say, let's see, health bar dot value equals current health. And I think with that done, we should be good to go, because we're setting our max value, we're setting our current value, and then there we go. Yep. So with this, we have very general and broad function for all of our health systems. This script was just an example of delegates. We'll be using delegates a lot in the future to reset our game, to revive the player, to kill the player, to add points to our score, however we want to go about that. Maybe make a ding for some sound, but they're very general and very, very good to know, but we'll be using those in a little bit. So from there, with our player now having a health script, we can go to our health display, and we're going to remove health UI. And I'm going to make sure to grab our player's health script, and I'm now going to change this to here and this to here. And you'll see that we basically have the same thing as before, except for we don't have our slime damaging yet. And to do that, we're just going to make a new little thing inside of our follow AI. And this is going to be specifically a follow enemy AI. So we can say private on trigger enter 2D if collision, which is what our collider 2D is called, the variable this is taking in. If collision dot compare tag player, we're gonna say collision dot get component health, and then really quick here, we're gonna say health HP equals, there we go. That way we're saving the health we're grabbing here into a variable, and we're gonna say HP dot update health. And remember, our health is taking in a float, so up here we're gonna need a new serialized field, and this is gonna be a private float, and it's gonna be damage. And this is generalizing it a lot more, so we can have different slimes do different damage, or just have different following enemy AIs do different amount of damage. So if you want like a big ogre to do 30 damage and one shot the player, then we can do it that way and just change this value. So remember though, if you want them to do positive damage, you do a normal number, or positive damage, what am I talking about? If you want them to heal the player, you'll keep this a positive number, but if you want them to damage the player, it has to be a negative number. So going on from there, we're going to say damage. Yeah. So inside of follow AI now, all we have to do is change our damage to -1. So with that being -1, shoot. Pretty sure Unity only allows positive numbers in here. So all we have to do from there is just change this to negative damage. And that should not work as well. Let's see. I see. Okay. So I forgot that we have not tagged our player as player yet, and player is a built-in tag that Unity has. So all you gotta do is change it to player there. And you'll see that we have our health working perfectly normal and as it was before, but you'll see that this health system is a lot more versatile in the way that we can change our health to do 0.5, which you'll see is a lot less, or we could change it to do 34 and decimate the player. I'll just leave it at 1 for now, just a very basic number. But with that, I'll close all of those down, and we can move our health scripts into the scripts folder here, just to keep organized. And that's basically everything I wanted to finish from last week. So going on from that, I suppose we can add an attack for the player, or the start of one at least. Or actually, yeah. Sorry, I was debating whether or not we wanted to do the slime's animations, but I think he's fine as is for now. So if we want to do an attack for the player, let's start in our scripts folder. And I don't remember if we, okay, so we haven't yet. So inside of our player controller, we're going to add a new action because an attack is not going to fall under movement. So we're going to make a new action, and I'm going to turn off autosave while we do this just so it goes a little bit quicker. And I'm going to name this, I believe this sprite pack came with like a sword attack, if I remember right. Yeah, so we got this little sword strike that we're going to do. And I'm going to name that swing. Yeah, swing sounds fine. And for our keyboard binding, swing's just going to be a button. So for our keyboard binding, I want it to be a mouse, and I want it to be the left click, which is left button under here. And then I'm also going to add another binding, and I'm going to add this for controller and swing. Oh goodness, there we go. Swing for gamepad, which is just general controllers. We're gonna have be the, let's just do the right trigger for now. The very broad thing, a lot of shooters use the right trigger for the shoot button or the aim in buttons, the right bumper, or continuing from there. But we're gonna turn on autosave there just so it saves all that. And we'll exit out here, and we can go back to our player, and I'm going to put it inside of player movement. And in here, I am going to add a new function, and it's going to be a private void swing. And then from there, we're going to say on enable, hello, please add the P. There we go. And on disable, we're going to say direction dot or not direction, what am I doing? Silly me. We're gonna say PC dot player dot swing dot not enable dot executed see dot performed. That's what it is. Plus equals swing, not switch, swing. And then it's gonna get mad at us because this needs to be an input action dot callback, and we're gonna name this swing. Struggling a little bit here. I think that's right. Give me 1 second to find the syntax for this. Alright everybody, so I'm back. The reason this isn't working is because I forgot to use a library, which is going to be using unity dot input or engine dot input, and that's going to be saying using the input system, and that's going to let this read out correctly. And I'm just going to say swing because this doesn't really matter too much. It matters to make it work, but it's not going to matter for what we're doing. And we're going to say minus equal swing. And for now, I think we're just going to have swing turn on and off a hitbox. So to do that, we're going to say serialize field, private, use a circle collider for now. Circle collider 2D. I'm gonna name this swing hitbox. And for today, I think we're just gonna do the left and the right hitbox just to keep it simple. Because we're gonna have to wire up the left swing, the right swing, the forward swing, and the back swing the same way that we did with all the other animations. So we're just gonna do the left and the right for today. Because it's just the one. Circle collider, and we're gonna name this swing hitbox. So inside of swing, we're gonna call a quarantine. So we're gonna say private I enumerator attacking. Oh, I accidentally hit page up, that's my bad. And inside of attacking, we're gonna say return yield return you wait for seconds. And inside of that, we're gonna need a new variable as well, and that's gonna be a private float, and that's gonna be swing time, and that's how long our attack is gonna take. So we're gonna say swing time, and we're gonna say swing hitbox dot is or equals true, and when we're done swinging, we're gonna say it is equal to false. There we go. And we're just gonna say start quarantine attacking. So here you'll see that we'll have everything working. It's not gonna turn any hitboxes on or off yet because we don't have any. So we're gonna create a new empty game object, and I'm gonna add a hitbox to it, which is going to be a circle collider 2D. And I'm going to move it right there for now. And I'm going to make that collider a little bit smaller. Also going to move it a little bit closer to the player there. So I'm going to name this side swing hitbox. And I want this to be a trigger, because eventually it'll trigger something inside of the slimes that'll deal damage to them the same way the player is dealing damage to, or they're dealing damage to the player. So to start off, this is going to be disabled, and we can say swing hitbox is right here, and we want our swing time to be like 1 second for now. And I'll turn gizmos on just so we can look at our player. And you'll see if I press left click, it'll turn our swing on for a little bit. And obviously that's a really long time right now. And you'll see it does a little funky bounce around because it thinks that the swing hitbox is part of the player hitbox, but that's not quite right. And we'll fix that in a moment here. But for the purposes of that, we got that all working. So from there, we just need to add in our swing animation, which is the exact same thing that we were doing before. You just go down to art, and we are going to look for our side swing, which I believe is from here to here, it looks like. And we just drag that onto player sprite. And now we can click into our new animation folder. And we're going to say player side swing. And I'll save that. And we're going to have to open up our animator again, because we now have our player side swing. So if our player is running just sideways, so player side run, we'll want it to be able to transition here. And for this, we're going to use a trigger actually, rather than a bool. I think that's, clicked the wrong thing. I need a trigger. And you'll see the triggers are circular rather than a square. And this trigger is going to say side swing. So on this one, we'll actually want it to have exit time. And on this, we'll want it to have side swing. And that will have it transition straight to side swing. And I'm going to put that right there. And we'll want to have the same thing from our idle. And you need no condition, just has that, and then from here we just need to say side swing, and does not have exit time for the going to player side swing. And I try to keep my animators relatively like organized with where everything's going. A better way to do this would be adding layers, but that complicates things in my opinion, so I don't like doing that. And I'll just keep it all in one layer and have it look a bit like a spider web in the end, but I like how this is looking so far. So now we'll be able to do our player side swing only if the player is running to the side, which is the priority, like left or right, so they have to be facing left or right to do that. If they're going up or down, we're going to have a player upswing and a player downswing. So for now, I think I'm just going to throw these right here. And actually, I think I'll keep it there so we can tell that there's a connection from the idle as well. Exit we won't need to worry about for a very long time. And then any state, honestly, it might be better if we had a switch back to any state. But for right now, I think we're alright, because any state could very easily go into side idle, and that's just if empty, but we're not going to worry about that for now. And I'll get rid of that just by hitting the delete button. So anyway, in our script, not that one, and this one, all we got to do at the beginning of attacking, we're going to say animator is lowercase, so we differentiate it. We're going to say animator.set trigger, and we are setting the trigger side swing, I believe is what I called it. Yep. So we're setting the trigger side swing. So now if I did everything right there, we should have our player doing a little side swing. So you'll see it's going to do 2 side swings, and the reason for that is we have side swing down here set to loop, so we just have to turn that off, and that way it'll just do the 1. And you'll see right now it has a really long transition time or exit time, so you'll see there's a little stall where it just doesn't play a sprite, or doesn't play an animation. We'll just go back to like our default sprite that it doesn't move. And to fix that, we just need to go into our player sprite, and we need to play around with our exit time. So you'll see right now it has a really long exit time, and we want to make that really little and move it right here. And by doing 100%, there we go. And doing that, getting this down to nothing practically. Like that. That should look a lot better for us. Let me see here. So right now our swing's looking really quick too. So I think another thing I want to do with that is change our player side swing inside of our animator, and I'll go here and I want to set its speed to 0.5 and just make it a lot slower. And that looks very slow. So I'm going to set it to 0.8. And we can just play around with that value till it feels good. And I think 0.8 feels pretty good. Can't tell if it's just the animation or if I forgot a frame here. Let me put it down to 0.2. No, I think I got every frame in here. Maybe it's still just playing too fast for it to feel alright. Maybe that's better. Maybe 0.75 is like our sweet spot. I think that's really good, yeah. So I'm going to keep our sprite speed, or our animation speed for player side swing to 0.75 to keep it looking nice. And you'll see right now we can't attack if we're looking up or down. And it'll execute our attack once it gets to one of our other animations. And that's just because the way we have it set up right now only lets it swing from left or from the right, because we don't have the side or up and down swing right now. And I can add the animation for that, but I don't know if we'll worry about the hitboxes. We'll probably just worry about the side for now, honestly. But right now, we'll want to try and match up our swing time to our animation. So if you see this, that hitbox is active for a really long time. So we'll probably want to lower that to 0.5 maybe, and even that's a bit long. So maybe 0.3. And I think that feels pretty good. So we'll keep that active for 0.3, and we'll save. And then we want to line up our swing to our player hitbox, or like the sprite. So you see that it looks a little wonky. So I just want to line it up to be probably right there is pretty good. We could even add another one and change the size of that. And we can change the offset to be like negative 0.2 and negative 0.2, and we could continue doing this to make a very clean hitbox to follow this pattern. And I think I actually want to move this back a little bit more here, and I'll add another one. And I want this one's radius to be 0.15, I think. And I want it to go up a little bit, maybe back a little bit more, and just be that general vicinity. I think I am going to go with the 0.1 size though, just to really cover the area that this swing is actually hitting in. And we could even do a little bit more with the side here, but I think I like this. And we'll typically only have this hitbox active for this amount of time, or for the frame that this is going to be in. But yeah, I'll go to our player sprite and change it back to what it was now though. If I can find that here. I think it was this one. Yep. So with that all done, we'll see that our, let me change the scale back to normal. Our hitbox looks pretty good. If I click on the player here, we'll see that we're only disabling this hitbox, and that's because that's the only hitbox we're worrying about right now in our code. So I'm actually going to change it to disable this game object and enable this game object rather than the hitboxes. So inside of our script, we can go here and change it from a circle collider 2D to a game object, and I'm going to say swing hitbox, and swing hitbox dot set active equals true. Oh, it's a function, not a variable here. And set active false, and you'll see that that'll force it to affect all three of the hitboxes rather than just the one. And if I click on our player here, you'll see that during that slash, if we're facing right, it'll slash right. If we're facing left, it'll slash left. And with that covered, I think that looks pretty good for now. With that, I think we can change it to affect the slime how we want it to. So we're gonna change the layer, and I believe So our is trigger is excluding obstacles, and our is not trigger is excluding the character. So for the purposes of this, we'll want to put our hitboxes into a new layer, and I'm gonna name it hitbox, and we're gonna add this to the hitbox layer. And for that, we're gonna want our follow enemy is trigger to exclude hitboxes as well. And that should stop our player from getting knocked back silly. I thought it would. Interesting. Let's see here. I mean, honestly, we can probably worry about this in the next video. I am at 54 minutes in recording time, so we'll just go over making the enemy health really quick, and then I'll probably cut it off here. But to do that, it's pretty simple. We're just going to add our health, the same one we have on our player, to the enemy. And then we're going to make a new canvas on top of our enemy. And this one we're going to change, instead of being a screen space, we want it to be in world space. And you'll see right now the position's really funky, so we want to change the position to 0, 0, 0. The scale to 0.1, or keep the scale up, but we want anything on this canvas to be really small, so we're going to make a new slider, and we want our slider scale to be 0.1, 0.1, and even that looks freaking huge. So we can do 0.01, 0.01, and 0.01. And I want this canvas to be a child of the follow enemy, so make sure it's underneath the follow enemy in the hierarchy. And then I want our slider to be right there, and I'm gonna get rid of this handle again and change our fill around to fit our needs. Just basically setting everything to 0, and I want our fill to be black, or our fill to be some sort of red, and our background to be black. And with that, we can set our value to full, and that gives our slimy guy a little health bar. And I can rename our slider to HP bar, HP bat, HP bar, and then we'll go to our follow enemy, and we just drag our HP bar down here, and we want our slime to have 3 max health. Sure. And then from there, we can just add a little script on our side swing hitbox, and we're gonna say player, or how do we want to do this? Yeah, we're gonna name this player hitbox. And I'm trying to zoom through this just a little bit. It is like 1:30 a.m. for me, so I'm trying to get this done and head to bed there. But I do want to get a pretty good video out for you guys. just to make up for the last few. But we basically covered everything I wanted to do last week. We're just doing this week's video this week and then continuing from here next week. It should be a longer video for you guys, like an hour or so, but we'll see. But anyway, open up our player hitbox script, and I want to do a serialized field. Let's do a public float, and this will be player damage, and we want a private void awake, and we want our player movement script to store a value for us, and we're gonna say it's gonna be a serialized private public float, and I'm gonna name it player damage. And I just want our player hitbox to have a reference to our player movement. So I'm going to say player movement PM. And in awake, we're going to say PM equals get component. But we're actually going to do component. Oh my, I am struggling. Get component in parent, and I'm gonna name that player movement, or grab the player movement, and from there we're gonna say player damage equals PM dot player damage, and that means we won't have to set this here. I can actually make this a private float. It'll just grab it from our player movement, so we can just set it once. There we go. But we're gonna do on trigger enter to D if collision dot compare tag enemy. We want to collision dot get component health, and we want to do the same thing we did for our enemy, and we just want to say health HP equals collision dot get component equals health. And we're going to say HE.update health, and we just want to update it with player damage. And we're going to be dealing damage, so negative. And with all that together, and having that on our player hitbox, I'm going to close all that down, move that to the top here. And I'm gonna set our player damage to 1, and we should see, oh goodness, I forgot that our enemy doesn't have a tag here, so we're gonna make a new tag, and it's just gonna be enemy. And tags are a little bit annoying here because you can't just delete them the same way you can as normal stuff. It'll save a little weirdly, but you'll see that if you want to get rid of it, you just have to hit that minus there. Or maybe I was thinking of layers that are a little bit weird, but that should be fine there. And we're just going to change our enemy to enemy. And I'll save that. And you'll see that our little slash should deal some damage to the slime. And it doesn't look the best right now, but we'll fix that up later. And I mean, it's a little delayed as well, and it has the bounce back, but we'll figure that out in a bit. Next week, we'll do some debugging and clean up our attacks. But I think that is a good way to end this video, focusing mainly on animation, cleaning up health, and all that jazz. But thank you for watching. If this helped you in any way, please consider subscribing or checking out my itch page, where I have a bunch of free games from game jams posted or stuff like that. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good night, guys.